minute or two early here, but thought I'd get us all started. I should notify my friends too that I am live now. Excuse me 1 second. Here we are. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, I didn't make anybody seasick. Trying to get the best angle that I can there. Yeah. Good morning. Here we are. I'll try to straighten that up just a little bit so you're not so cockeyed. There we are. Now we're in the middle of the screen. Good. All right. Good morning, Robert. I'm assuming you can hear me. Hey, Chase. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Let me know. Yep. Okay. Well, I have this gnarly piece of oak burl. This was an oak burl, and as you can see, it has a lot of voids in it. Look at here. There's a big old nasty one. There's wormholes in it, but there's also an awful lot of really neat movement in the wood. There's some reds and there's some browns and tan colors. There's just a lot of stuff going on here, and I just felt like I needed to just turn this thing and find out what's in it. So that's what we're going to do today. So you bear with me because we're going to. This could be a disaster, or this could be a really pretty bowl, or it might be a combination. There might be a couple disasters along the way, and we end up with a bowl. I don't know, but I thought I would just get on here and kind of share the terror a little bit. That didn't look good. I figure if I'm going to go through this, you guys ought to have to go through it too. Right? Hey, Michael, I see you made it too. They must have positioned you in an office position today, huh? Of course, as cold as it has been out your way, I'm sure nobody wants to be outside anyway. I'm sure we can bet on that. I'm going to put an extra one in here just because I didn't like how that one fit. So I'll put an extra one in here. Don't really need more than 2 or 3 screws, really. It's a very small piece. It's not very heavy. But I just like to do it if I can. And again, because this is really built for faceplate. Because if you were to use a chuck nut and you screw it in there, if there was any voids in here we don't know about, it's not going to hold. By using the faceplate, I've got several points of hold. I'm bound to have some solid wood in there, so that's why I did it that way. And so that's why you need to have a variety of different ways of holding your wood pieces on. And I'm not going to say holding your wood. And faceplates to me are probably one of the safest ways of doing it because you got several points of contact in that wood to make sure you're safe. You know what? I can't even see through this faceplate right now. I'm gonna wipe this off a little bit if I can. Excuse me. Even if it's just with a little bit of water. These faceplates masks are great, but after a while they get kind of fogged through and you can't really see what the heck you're doing. They get dust, and they get scratched, and they get little pieces of loose pieces of CA glue. Oops!
Okay.
Drop the microphone right into the bucket there. There we go. So you're constantly kind of looking through a haze. You're not looking through a really nice, clear mask all the time. Okay. I'll put that up. We'll get this going and we'll see. And please, if you can, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, as we always say. Just want to see how far off I am here. Not far. Ooh, there's a chunk. And that's just the kind of thing I was wondering about. What's going to come off? See that thing right there? That is a huge hole. And I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. Maybe I can make it. I can't really make it part of the whole thing because there's nothing holding on either side over here. So I can't I'm going to have to see what I can do. Anyway, we'll ramp up the speed a little bit. Coming from the bottom. Oops. This is going to be some flying stuff. Whew. Oh, that stuff flying everywhere. But we got a lot rounder real quick. Now I can move this in just a little. Do that again. Whoa, that came off with a crash. Okay, see what the damage was here. Okay, we're starting to see the landscape, and it really does. It looks like a lunar landscape, quite honestly. It is really rough. Let me do a little scraping cut here. You see how that scraping cut really takes, just really smooths things out. I mean, that's already a sanded surface just with that scraping cut. Got a little bit more in the center here to take out, I think. There. And I think that's pretty nice. We'll be able to sand the rest of that. Okay, so I'm going to work on the backside now. What's this? Is it both hands on the handle? Well, yeah, well, in this case, not really needed to. This is a very dry burl. It's probably been dried for several years. Well, I think I can do it this way. Okay. And it seems like it turns extremely easily. At least that says so right here in the description. So we'll see. I turn my light on here. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna come from this. Oh, just a little bit. There we go. There we go. And just a little off. Time to pull out the trusty skewer. You notice when I'm using the skew, it's not cutting with this. It's not digging in with this. You're kind of trying to get it a little bit behind that. That should all your work. And that way I can go a little bit past center with it. And I'm kind of putting in the heel just a little bit as I go down. And I can go back with a clearing cut. And that should smooth it out pretty good. Let's see. Oh yeah. We're pretty smoothed out. And still solid. That's the good news. That's the good news. Dang. Mike, we got a problem. I charged this thing for almost 2 days. And this battery's beeping at me already. That's not good. And it went through a full charge. And it's beeping after 20 minutes. I don't like that. I'm getting a little PO'd at the trend helmet situation. We'll see what's going on with that later. Anyway. Well, thank you, Queenie. Yeah, I'm not doing anything that scary that I'm going to have to worry about things flying off too much, except naturally stuff that's going to fly off. I am worried about keeping this intact as much as I can. And where do I put the bowl? Because the bowl's going to have a see-through. It's not going to be a bowl. It's going to be more of an artsy bowl. So I think I need to put a little more curve to it, a little more looks to it, make it look a little more art. So like we said the other night, if you call it art, you can charge twice the price, right? So let's see if we can put a little bit of an angle on that. You know, like this. I wonder if I made this sort of a moonscape type. I could try that. Kind of a spaceship looking thing. Let me try this. See if I can make this sort of a spaceship aspect of things. I'm gonna bring this way up here. I'm gonna switch to there it is. This round scraper. Let's see what I can do here. Get more of an angle on it. I think that's kind of the shape we're going to go with. That way I can leave that middle section kind of fatter. Yeah, I have more of a curved thing here. There we go. I might have to put this fan on here to pick up that extra dust. So, like I said, when you're turning a piece of wood, you don't know what it is, or you don't know what's going to be inside. You have to kind of work with it as you go and change your plans accordingly. Boy, am I covered. Whew. Okay, so this is kind of what we're looking at, and yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put a little tenon in the bottom here. We'll sand this up and we'll turn it around and see what we can do. Let me get this back down. Okay. Spinning. Give myself a target. Right about there. That's my target. Here, mark it. You have to drop that just a little bit more. Getting that rest in just the right spot is a challenge sometimes. I'm just a tap off. That should be about right. Yeah, I think that's pretty clean. Now let's see how close I am to being my spot. Now, I was just guesstimating that, but that's pretty darn close. Yeah, I think hollow form will be interesting. I just don't know how much it's going to catch on the inside when I get through the holes and everything that are going on here, Robert. So that's what's going to be. That's what's going to be a little bit interesting too. Okay, that's about as deep as I want it to be. Just a little bit wider, okay. Well, sometimes I'm really good at guesstimating it, and sometimes I'm a little bit off. And the last couple times I made it a little bit big, so I was trying to sneak in on it a little this time. There we go. I don't want to go deeper, so it's already pretty deep. Yep, there we go. Now we're in there. Good. All right, well, we'll sand that up a little bit. It's not going to take much sanding, I got to say that, because it's pretty good at this point. let's go in reverse. I'm going to go through this and we're going to see if we can get a little, just a little bit inside that too, to make sure we get it cleaned out now rather than later. Get those bark inclusions and everything. The thing about burled wood is it kind of folds in on itself and you get a lot of really interesting patterns in that wood. Okay, that was just 80 grit, by the way. I'm going to kick it up here. And honestly, it already feels like about 300 grit. So I just wanted to make sure I got any little imperfections off of there. You never know when you have it in this raw state, and then you start putting some sort of finish on it, and then you see all the little spotches and everything. So you kind of want to get that surface really cleaned out. No chance of this stuff warping on me like some of the other green pieces I was doing recently. This will hold a nice steady position. And it's really hard, solid wood for the most part. With the exception of the fact that it's got all these inclusions and so forth in it. Because even the inclusions are hard wood. It's not like soft spots in the wood. At least as far as I know so far. I haven't encountered any. A little scratch from there I want to get out. That shine a little bit. Okay. Again, this is your one chance to fix things before they get out of hand later. So it's worth taking a little bit of time on your sanding. And I always rush it a little bit when I'm doing the lives. I kind of rush the sanding a bit because I don't want you guys just getting bored watching me sand stuff all day. But that's why I said it was being started. Okay. Okay. All right, chocolate. Chocolate? I can't really see that very well. Okay, we're going to go up, put a little finish on this just to see where we're at. And then we'll switch it around. This is going to be a pretty quick bowl, I think. He says that with his tongue in his cheek. Just when you think things are going to be quick, they're not. Oh yeah, let me get in there with this first. Let me get in there with this. I want to get into those little cracks and stuff. I don't get them now, they'll come up flying out later. So let's get in there and get them cleaned out. Your sandpaper just will not get into those places, but something like this fibrous sanding brushes will. Really good to have a set of these, especially if you use a lot of like real wood or wood that you cut off of trees and all, and not getting it from a wood store. Wood stores will usually avoid most of that kind of imperfections in the wood, usually, unless you request it. So got a little bit of a break right there. That should not affect the miter though. So, okay, we will shake it up. I'm gonna have to make some more of this soon. Get some of this on here and start. And then you're gonna see what this wood really looks like. Olive wood just turns out so beautifully. I'll bring you in for a closer look here in just a minute, but just let me kind of get this going. Get in there, get in those nooks and crannies there. The crannies need your help. Okay. A little bit more in here. In that nook. There's some big chunky nooks in here, so it's really getting a lot of love at this point just to get all this in here. That's why you want to use a little brush. These chip brushes are great for it. Harbor Freight, they're about get 100 of them for about $10. And they'll last you forever. I mean, I've used the same brush for 2 or 3 months now on all my turnings. And if you've been around, you've seen how many turnings I've done. It's about ready to retire this one, but okay, let me get it on this side here, and you can see what it does. I'm going to put a little on the brush. It's a little easier than putting it on the wood. There we go. What do you think, guys? Yeah, I start oiling my wood, and the viewers start jumping up to 500 people. I know it's. I should just say I'm oiling my wood today, and people would jump in. Yeah, but thanks. And people like to see what the wood's going to look like. So this is what it's going to look like on the outside eventually, after some little bit more work. I'm just trying to get it in all the holes there, little mist spots. In fact, there's pieces right here I see too. So getting it in there, we'll let that settle. Now I got to go back and get some of these that it didn't get into. Come on, get in there. Fortunately, this when wood gets wet, it gets a little darker, so you can see where it hasn't penetrated yet. But this tung oil really penetrates, gets down into the fibers, and it will harden down in there if we let it set for about 24 hours. But we're not letting it set today. We're kind of rushing through the process. If you were doing this regularly at home, you would stop here and you'd let it sit overnight, and you go back tomorrow and work on the inside of the bowl. But we're going to do the whole thing here today so that you can see it. And there's no editing going on. This is live, so what you see is what you get. When something flies off and hits me in the face, you'll know about it. You'll all applaud, I'm sure, because people like a car wreck. Get in that hole there. It's not getting any in there. There we go. It's almost like pouring CA glue. You want it to get in there and settle down and all. And it's sucking most of this in as we go, just so you know. Okay, so I'm going to let that soak for just a minute. 860, and you hit the like button, please. Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming in to watch. But let's hit the like button and show YouTube that that wood turning is an appreciated art form on this platform. Okay, and we all appreciate it as turners. By the way, there's some of my friends that are in here, and also that I correspond with regularly. 77 Rockets, Ryan, Mike with the Whacking Shack. He's in here. Robert G. We have New Beginnings wood turning with Chance, and we have I don't know if Wilson's in here. Wilson, are you in here more? But anyway, you can check all of them in the description area of my videos. I have a list of a lot of my friends, Timber Designs and others, that we all kind of. I started to call us the wood shavings mafia, as opposed to the other kind of mafia that's out there. But anyway, we all of us like to do turnings, and we all do different types of turnings. Mine, I like to use wood that you'd find in your neighbor's yard or fire pit and things like that, and try and bring out the pretty in them, you know. So I'm going to see if I can get this to come off of here. If I can't, here we go. I'll bring this over to the camera a little better, and you can see just what this looks like. So here it is. You can see what I'm dealing with right there. So, pretty piece of wood. Still needs a little bit more sanding here on the bottom. And I'll take care of that in post-production later on. Actually, don't need to take that off. I think I'm going to, well, let me wipe this down. I think I'm going to let it wipe it down first before I take it off. Just to make sure that it's soaked in and dry. I can just use a paper towel for this, just buff it out a little bit. I know it's going to come flying off. I'm going to spit some of that stuff when it gets back on the lathe. So we'll give it a little bit of a light rubbing in. And this will get another set of finish later on too. We'll probably use a wax finish or something. I don't know. Because this is not a high gloss. This is more of just a luster kind of a finish that you get with this. So clean that off a little. Okay. Now we will remove those screws. Table here. Ooh, a lot of torque in that. You got to be careful when you're holding on to these things. They do tend to torque. There we go. This is a cheap Harbor Freight drill that I use only for my wood turning projects. It came with 2 batteries. It's extremely cheap. It's the Warrior. It's like the cheapest one. But you know, I've used it for 2 years now for all of my sanding, all of my screwing and unscrewing. And it works perfect. And that way I don't have to use up a good tool or my good batteries, you know, on stuff that's, you know, can get really dirty and really messed up. I can save my other tools, my Makitas and so forth for bigger projects. Okay. Get that on there. This is not going to take much turning. It's like very tight in there. So, okay, let's see how we're turning. Very true. Very, very true. Good. Good. So we got a good fit on there. That should hold just fine, he says, with his tongue firmly in his cheek. Okay. Get this stuff out of the way. And hi, Tai Tai, and hi, Faye. Oh, I'm using something. I'm not sure if it's my talents and skills, but we'll see. I have some other talents that, you know. Hey, Depression. So, hey, Mike, let's see. What would you like me to use? What would you like to see me using for this? Any requests? Um, I do have a new SKU, but I'm not sure this is the project for that. I will start off with just the basic here. Okay. There we go. Start to get those little curlies. Yeah, you're right. Talent doesn't need to be good. Well, the wood will always tell you just what you don't need to know. You need knowledge on the scraper set. Okay, well, let me get this started and then we'll go to the scrape. We'll see how we can do with the scrapers, Mike. Okay? The problem is as I go along here, I'm going to encounter some voids. So I'm really taking my time. Because here's the problem we have. This soft wood will turn real easily. And I can go through a lot of that. But then I'm going to encounter these things right here. I'll show you. See? I could already feel it as I was going through. And I've got it right here too. So even though it feels like it's coming out real smooth, all of a sudden I'm going to encounter something like this. And if I have this in the wrong position, it's going to grab instead of cutting. And then I'm going to lose the bowl. So I have to remind myself to go lighter than I want to. Over and over again. And I don't think that the gouge is actually going to be the most effective tool for this because of the surface area that it cuts with. This is only cutting with about that much of the tool right there on the wood. That's what's doing all the cutting. Not this part of the blade, not this part of the blade. None of this. It's just that little tooth right there is doing 99% of the cutting. So you're not getting much surface cut out of that. So I'll show you similarly with the carbide. And carbide is basically a scraper. And when you're scraping, look at where it's hitting. If you look right down here, you'll see that's what's hitting the wood. Just that one little spot. And if you dig in a little bit, yes, you're going to have a little bit more surface touching it, but basically, it's all being cut by that one tiny, tiny little surface. Now, as you turn the arc of your wood, it will change where it's connecting on here. So if you change your arc, it will change the cutting spot. But a lot of people think that, especially when they're new, they think that you're cutting with the whole surface, and you're not, and you don't want to. Because honestly, if you had this whole surface across here, there'd be a good chance that it's going to grab and catch. Especially a curved surface. So we can go out there nice and smoothly. So, let's try the scraper now. All right. And we can use a lot of different scrapers. I've got the negative rate scraper. It has a slight arc to it. Probably needs a little bit of a... Probably needs to be raised just a little bit too. So, try and do that on the fly here. Let's see if that helps. I don't know. Let's see. sometimes when you try and raise a little bit on the blade, you have to find the right spot where it's actually come up, because it doesn't feel like it's here at all, but it does feel like it's over here. So when I try and put it in this side, I get nothing. And this side I get that. So, and I'm just doing this because I want to make a nice clean cut right in here right now. Yeah, it's not a. I don't know if I have to sharpen that again or not. But let's just try it. See how it does. It's just really hard wood. This would be good for a finish cut, but it's probably not good for using right now. So, not a negative rate scraper. We can go to our regular scraper. We have to lower the rest just a little bit. I don't know if I lowered that. Yeah, I lowered that a little too much. There we go. Work on getting that rough area out of the way if I can. A lot of bounce right there. I'm interested to see why is it bouncing like that? See, I've got this in here, and I got this going on. So what is happening is it's coming around, it's bouncing here, it's dumping, bouncing. I'm not getting a really good, clean cut. Now, the nice thing about a scraper is you will get a nice smooth cut. And a shear cut will even get a better one. This is not, it's not sanding soft, but it is, or smooth, but it is somewhat smooth. Okay, we got 1,000 people in here. Let's hit that like button and subscribe if we can. When you subscribe, it tells you, it lets you know when I'm going to do another live. And in fact, we've got a scheduled live tomorrow, which if you subscribe, it'll come up on your list and it'll remind you. But we do a live every Thursday. Let me get in there with this one. Let's not get into that edge. Okay. Well, I'm going to use something I rarely use, and that's my square carbide. And the reason I don't like to use a square carbide is it's kind of aggressive. It can be, I should say. And you kind of have to use this like a skew. If you use this like a skew, you'll take things out in small chunks. As you go in like this, and like this, like you're staging. And when you do it that way, you're not trying to bring it across. You're doing it little stages. I'm going to get that stage in, and I'm going to bring the next over a little bit, then I'm going to bring the next one over a little bit, next one, and I'm just rocking it down each time to dig in. You see all these little ridges in here? Then we can just go back across. The idea is not to dig it in. That's another way you can use this tool other than just kind of going in there and digging in with it, but just taking it in little chunks. I also want to make sure I'm going in a little bit. I'm going to use that tool, the edge of that tool, and I raised it up like this. I lowered the bottom, I raised up the top, and I kind of let it work its way in. Not being really aggressive with that blade. And that starts to undercut the rim. If you notice, we're already getting a little undercut on the rim. So that's what we can do with this. And not having to use the diamond bit or something else right now to do that. For your carbide, you want to use it a little bit like you would a steel. That's one way to do it. Okay, I'm going to go back to my round one here for a minute. But I think now we can kind of get in there. You see how much more? You see how much more chatter that gets? It's getting bounced around. Because the angle on this is actually pretty aggressive. If you look at that angle, that's a pretty sharp angle on there. So it is somewhat aggressive. Mike is making stuff. Okay, Shack is too weird. A whack is too weird. Skins make more sense. Okay. How you doing, man? Mike, man? You know, I'm not sure if I'm one of the first people to call you Mims, but I think I was close to being one of the first guys. I didn't see anybody else calling you that until I got on your channel and started mentioning that. There's too many darn mics to talk to. And Mike is making stuff take too long to type. So, Mims became real easy. Alright. We're going to stop this in just a second and take a look at where we're at. My method is always, you never go more than about 2 minutes without stopping and taking a look at the wood and seeing if there's something that you're not feeling or not seeing as you're going along. These are still, this is now a hole, a pit that I'm going through. This is going to be heading into that big hole down there pretty soon. So I got to be aware of that. So this was the easy stuff. We're going to start getting into some of the rough stuff here pretty soon. I'm going to kick up the speed just a little bit. And this is not one that I want to go a really high speed on. But I'm hoping that maybe it'll help me get through some of that trippy stuff. Now I got to start going in a lot deeper on the side. Even as we're getting near the hole part. That's where it's going to get real sketchy. So for my Mike at the Whacking Shack and some of the rest of you, this is where we get the sketchy turns, right? So I know that you like sketchy. Mike's our king of sketchy. And if you haven't checked out his channel lately, you should check out the Whacking Shack. He does have a lot of interesting turns that come out beautiful. I mean, they really, really do. More often than not, he's not bleeding at the end, which is good. And even though a lot of us are clutching our purses, so to speak, when he's turning, because he takes on some really good challenges. He makes some beautiful pieces. That winged bowl was a beautiful piece that he did last week. So if you get a chance, go and look at that video of his winged bowl. That is very something. Getting a little loud, isn't it? You know what loud means? Loud means that we're getting chatter. And chatter means that we're getting into some funky wood. And I don't want to be overturning. I don't want to be pushing into the wood. I want to let the tool do the work. Okay, see how we're doing here. So far we got solid wood, except here where it's getting rougher and rougher. This is pithy. But we're still in solid wood. We haven't gotten down. Let's see, we're about here. Right about here in the wood. We got about another inch of wood to turn. Well, not quite an inch of wood to turn. And there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff in that 1 inch. So yeah, you're welcome, Mike. Yeah, that's really, it was really a beautiful piece, and I think, like I said, you call that art. You can expect a big price on that. That may have to go to, you may have to take that 2 or 3 shows before you get the price you want, but it'd be worth sticking to your price, I think, whatever that price is. Unless, of course, your family's already claimed it and said it's a family heirloom now, so you can't do that. I'm going to check my my hold here just to make sure I haven't moved off of a plane here. A little bit off. Let's see. It's good to check your hold every once in a while. Make sure that you're staying true in there, because it can sometimes vibrate off just a hair, and if it does, it can really affect your turn later on. So make sure you check, make sure you double check that you're still connected every once in a while. And you know, one thing I never did was finish this top here. So before I get too much further, let me get the speed up. Okay. And if you've never turned inside under the rim of a bowl before, what you want to be doing is looking at this side right here as you're turning here, because you can't put your head in there and look and see what you're doing there. You can feel it, but you can see the turning on this side. Okay? Lady is coming this evening to buy all of your box elder turnings. Wow. She must have a heavy purse. Make sure it's cash. You're sure she didn't just want to buy your boxes? It sounds like a crash car in there, so let's see what we got going here. What's that noise coming from? We still haven't gotten down to this breakthrough part, so I'm just getting a little nervous, I guess, when it comes to that. I think I've still got a good sharp edge on this carbide. Like I said, a carbide works like a scraper. Not that I know you want to use a scraper. The problem with the scraper on this particular one is I'm not sure it has the right angle on it. But I'll see what I can do. Let's see how thin I'm getting here too. It feels like I'm on the right angle there. I just need to make sure I'm keeping that angle. Because you want your angle to go like this, just like it does on the outside. It's getting a little warm too. So you're going to keep that correct arc. So, now what I'm doing is I'm turning this more so it's more of an angle. It's not just going straight on. So it takes a little bit less of an aggressive turn, because I'm starting to get to that right there. There's some of that where that hole's going to be. And I'm probably going to be hitting that pretty soon right in there. So now we know where we're at. That's going to be even more careful to test when we hit that. See? Yeah, let's see what that did. Okay, now I'm getting down to about this part of the bowl right here. And I may get lucky. Let's see. I think I think it's going to be nice too. I don't want to have too many voids, but I want to have some voids. But I think it'll add to the look. For those of you that are just coming in, I've been demonstrating a lot of different tools to use on a bowl like this. Yeah, that's staying in there good. But we're starting to get into some of the reds. That's really nice. It's going to look great. So let's go back to the scraper for just a minute. And I don't know if I can get it in there just right or not now, but I think I can. With a scraper, you want your tool rest to be slightly, you want to have this so your tool is just slightly above center. If the center is right here, I'm slightly above center, and you can go down just a little bit, and that gets it on that bead that you have on your tool. So you want to be just above center with your tool, so you can lift the bottom up the heel and get down and just barely cut in. So you watch how it works. I'm not cutting at all. And I'll get right to there, and there it starts to cut. If I don't want to be very aggressive, I want to keep that angle right there. And it makes a different noise when it gets over to the side, because we're in thinner wood there. Where it makes really solid sound here, the other side. Hear that? That's the sound of not much resistance. And so let's see why we're getting that. It's because we are very thin right here. It gives you tone, just like on a guitar or any other wooden instrument like that. So here you get a ding, ding, ding. Here you get a thump, thump, thump. You get the same thing when you're turning. So using your ears is really important in the shop. It does help you turning. So when I get off the bottom, I get this side, listen. You hear that? Completely different sound. It's also the difference between supported wood. In other words, this has the wood supporting underneath it. Out here, there's nothing supporting this. It's just the edge of the wood. So that's that unsupported wood. You can't see anyone's comments. I'm seeing everyone's comments. I don't know if you turned it off, Mike, or something. But I'm seeing everyone's comments right now. Hi, El Hassan. Hi, Gary. Tech Magar. Andrea. Thanks for all coming in. Let's please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And can't get there without your help. Also, feel free to like and comment. Hit the like button. Double tap your screen. Leave comments. Comments are great. We really like to have conversations going on here while we're doing this. Otherwise, it's kind of lonely in the shop. I mean, I could just turn on music and listen to it, but I'd much rather be talking to you guys. So. Let's see how this is doing on you. That's doing good. We still have basically a solid wool here. I don't think there's too much, even though I'm cutting in pretty thin. I'm about 1/4 of an inch thin here. I got to come down a little bit more on the bottom. And that's always the treacherous part, because you don't want to go peek and glue through the bottom of your bowl. I think I need to make sure I'm getting this curve a little bit more so that I'm not getting stiff on the edges here. I do appreciate all you're doing here. So, like I said, please, you can do us a favor and subscribe. That way, we can keep growing the channel. And you'll know when we are going live and when when we post new videos. I've got a couple of videos I'm working on the background. And I hope to have posted in the next week. But we do have to be, we have, got Christmas coming up soon and all the shopping and everything else going on. It's kind of difficult to get everything done at one time. But I've got a couple things I'm trying to get done before the holidays that I want to show you. And we've got about 150 videos up on our channel. So please check out the channel itself. Go to 2-Minute Tips for Wood Turners and check out some of my videos. I got some in there that are instructional videos, but a lot of them are really short. Of course, the live section has all of our live videos, but if you want to go to just the video section, there's a lot of videos there that are only like 7-8 minutes long, and they give you a lot of instructional, not just on wood turning, but woodworking as well. Things in the shop, safety tips, things like that. I shifted to my smaller scraper here, because it has a little different arch to it. These each have a little bit of a different arc. This one's a little bit sharper of an angle, and I'm trying to get a little bit more of an angle down in the bottom of that bowl than I can get with the big one. Okay, let's see how close I am. I think I've got a little bit more room in the bottom of this to go, but it's starting to look pretty nice. And we didn't blow out the sides. We do have some of the occlusions, but we didn't blow out the sides, which is really reassuring to me. I'm sure that's very thin there, but so far so good. Let's go a little further and see what happens. I'm up for it. Just like to keep an eye on that as I'm going. Go out a little bit further right here, so I'm going to attempt to do that. This is where I get a little scared. Sometimes you just have to keep looking at it and looking at it until it gets to just where you want it to be. Oh, we do have a hole here now. We do have I can see through the other side. That's okay. That's what we knew we were going to do here, so that's part of the plan, so to speak. Now, if you look at the angle that I'm using this at, I'm turning this like this, so when the wood's coming down, it's just shearing right against this, and it's not getting any chance to really catch. I'm just kind of rubbing a little bit of wood off of the edge, trying to take a little shavings. Trying to go through there. If I bring it down just the angle just a little bit down, I get more coming out. If I bring it down even flatter, I get a lot of cutting going on. So you're basically controlling the cutting with the scraper by angling it as you go, sort of like you would with a gouge. Okay. Yeah, that's much better out there now. Now I've really gotten that out in there. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, and as far as the depth goes, I know I got to allow for the miter that I put inside. But I really can't go much deeper than this. Maybe just a hair here. Kind of flatten the bottom just a little bit. So there you go, Mike. That's how you use a scraper in that situation. Hi, Benjamin. Yeah, well, if you notice the wood here, yeah, I would like to get the speed up a little bit more. You know, I just didn't want to catch, and I wanted people to be able to see what was going on with it. So you're right, I can get the speed up more, and I can do a little bit, smoother end on it. I'm also near the end here, and I don't want to overdo it because I have too many of these coming in there, and I wanted to make sure I kept my sizing. But you're right. Speed does help. I'm gonna go with the big one just once, and I might go with the negative rate scraper once. Whoa, that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to hit something like that. I didn't hit anything, but something was flying off of there. See what hit me. See, I opened up another little piece, and that was what came flying at me. It's okay. It didn't do any harm, but hit my hand. Whatever was flying out of there. Let's use the negative rate just to kind of smooth everything out. Yeah, there's no real rough pieces of this. That should sand out really nice. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. Pretty happy with that. Let's get some sandpaper going on here. And I'm going to turn this on just to collect the dust. Now we'll turn it backwards. Better already. Really looking nice. We'll do this for just a second here. go up to the next one. How long have I been turning? Well, on and off for about 25 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. I never really took count. And most importantly, I try and make sure whatever I show you, I try to show you safely. Yeah, it's been a day or two. Hey Ryan, good to see you. But honestly, most people start off doing pens. I did too. And you get bored with pens, and you start doing a little bit bigger projects, and then you start doing, bowls. And then you realize, man, I got to go out and buy some bowls or find some wood because I can't afford to keep buying wood. So I learned to cut my own bowl blanks and find where I can source wood from people. And it's not easy in California because California, A, doesn't like to cut down any trees, but if they do cut down trees, most of our trees are not of the real good turning variety. This happens to be. This is olive. And we have oak. This is oak. We have olive, we have oak, we have all sorts of those kind of fruit trees. And they're all hardwoods, and they all have interesting characteristics. I've been doing a lot of cypress turnings. If you saw some of my earlier turnings from a couple months ago, I did cypress. Cypress is a gorgeous wood. I've done some sequoia and redwood, a little bit of everything. So let's. I'm going to vacuum this out just a little bit. Turn this off. Allow me to vacuum this out just to get some of the dust out of that thing and off the table here. I don't want it to get into the finish. It's kind of a quick vacuum up. Not going to get everything, obviously. We were talking about the other day, after you do one of these lives, you have about another half an hour of cleanup to do in the shop so that it's presentable again. So all of us are pretty much always tidying our shops. You don't see all that on the camera because it's sort of like what you don't see behind the scenes on TV shows. There's a lot of extra work that goes into these things, prepping and getting ready for the show and making sure you have everything you need on hand. All of that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoy these as much as I enjoy making them for you. There we go. And I'll get the floor later. But they are a lot of fun to do, these lives. But there is a little bit of work involved, like I said, even after the fact. Okay, we're going to put some finish on the inside of this. I'm going to get you a little bit closer here, if I can. There we go. Let me try and get this bent up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Hope I didn't make anybody seasick there. So you'll get more of a close up as I get this done up here. So, but this is that tung oil, and this is going to get sucked in there pretty good. We do actually have right here, there's actually a cut, and I think it's attached. It's very, very lightly attached. That's why I wanted to be really careful at the end there, because there's a hole right here. You got to put my thumb down into it, and it stops right there, right at the edge. There's like not even a Not even a 1/16 of an inch left of space there. It's sucking this in pretty good. I'll try and get the light in there a little bit better for you. Turn this one on too, for the top. Get another coat on this outside. Get down into the holes again. And we're just going to go this way now. The nice thing about tung oil is it tends to be self-leveling, and it will not leave brush marks unless you keep brushing after it's hardening. So that's good. Oh, there's some dry area right there. Right there. Just keeps wanting to suck it in. I'll give it another shot here. Inside. Let that soak in a little bit more. Especially under the lip here is always really hard to get at unless you use a good brush. Get in there. And that swirling motion kind of helps me get any little places that I might miss otherwise. Okay, I'm going to let this sit for just a moment, and then I'll take it off and show you guys. Yeah, I got a few tips to share. And I'm sure there's others in there too. I mean, it's always a collaborative. You never stop learning. I have a bunch of wood turners in our local wood turning group, and the wood turners. Some of them are like in their 80s and close to 90 in a few cases, and they are still trying new things, attempting new things all the time. Ryan from 77 Rockets here can attest to that. We're going to a meeting Saturday, and I expect to learn new things from some of these guys that are way older than me, and I feel old some days, but these guys are way older, and they're still really good. Some of them are in walkers. It's very funny. You see guys that are bent over, they're in walkers. They can't even hardly stand on their own. And yet they can go up to a lathe and they can turn out the most beautiful things. It's just crazy. They'll turn out finials that are like microscopically thin, and they'll engineer things that you just have never thought of. So you never stop learning when you're turning. And every piece of wood teaches them. When I started with this piece of wood, it was just a round piece of wood, and we didn't know anything about it. I didn't know if I could go through it because of all these holes in the side here, but it actually worked out really well. Okay, so let me, for the moment, I'll take this off and I'll hold it up put it out this way. And I'll kind of put it like so you can see it. That's kind of what the outside looks like. You can see what I mean right there. That was pretty rough. And then the inside. And using a combination of the right speed and the right tools, we didn't have a single catch. Nothing came off the tenon, the inverted tenon that I had. It held nice and solidly. And this will take a little bit more work to do. I'm going to have to take it in. Let me get my brush here. I'm going to have to take it in and work on the bottom, of course. The bottom's going to need a little bit of sanding and cleaning up. And that's to be expected. And there will be some places where this is really sucking in and drawing out the stuff, and I'm going to need to probably put another coat finish on this. I think this one's going to look best with a gloss finish. So I'm either thinking of using a well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Does Bubble Shoots have something that you would use on this, guys, or would you use a lacquer or shellac on it? What's the consensus out there? What do you guys think? What would you use to get your best gloss finish on this without screwing it up? I'll ask Ryan. Does Bumbleshoots have anything that would you would recommend on there, or that's one of your sponsors, or has been? Oop, get that off of there. Okay. Well, that's the one bowl I was going to do today, and then I have another one that we can kind of work on here if we want. I can show you what's up on the platter for tomorrow. Tomorrow I have a couple fun ones, and I'll show you what those are. I'm going to leave that right there to dry for a couple minutes. Tomorrow I have this piece of olive, which had a real big hole in it, so I put a little resin in here just to fill in the hole, but I'm not even sure it's going to be there when I'm done. But you can see how beautiful this is. It's going to have some nice figuring to it. But we're coming at it from the side. We're coming in from the top, and we're going to have side views of this resin. So these are going to flare out around as we turn it. It's going to be a very small bowl. This will be the bottom. This will be the top. So that's this one. And then we have this one, which I'm not even sure what it's going to do. But it was the leftover piece, and people said, cut that piece off, and then let's make something out of this. So what I thought I would do is probably going to do a glue hold on this, and I'm going to leave this the way it is, and I'm going to make my bowl kind of in here, and just leave all this bark on here, and just see what it looks like when it's done. It may be useless, it may be absolutely horrible, I don't know, but it's going to have kind of a sloped cut in here, and we'll see what it looks like. I mean, it's very pretty wood on this side, so I'm hoping on the inside that will look really, really pretty. So this is going to be just kind of experience tomorrow when you have leftover pieces of a piece of wood that you've used for other things. And I'll show you just what I'm talking about. This was another piece of that. This big one here. And I've been waiting to get into this one. And this is going to be interesting. Because you can see it feels almost prehistoric here. It's got very rough built-in bark and so forth that went into inclusion that went into it. I had to glue up a couple little splits in there. But we're going to be turning this one probably next week. And we'll see what this is going to do for us, because this is going to be a challenge. This one is still wet to a point. It's still kind of wet. So I'm kind of letting it dry out a little bit more. And the ones we turned on Sunday, by the way, have already started to warp like we wanted to. They're a little bit wider, about a 1/16 of an inch or so, but really looking beautiful. And if you haven't seen that video, go back and look at the one I did from Sunday, because it really does have a really nice feel to it and look to it. And I think you're going to find that it's going to end up being a really beautiful bowl. This one's ready to go in the books, except for putting a little outside on it. Bumbleshoots has a good combo of Binoba with stung oil. Okay, stung oil, I guess, and or Binoba with the thinner wood finish. Yeah, I wasn't sure which one to go with that, because their descriptions are not the most over descriptive, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of hard to tell what each one does different than the other one. So I kind of wish but my feedback to him would be that. Benjamin says matte finish. He also says use a Danish oil or lacquer. I don't really like to use Danish oil, but that's just a personal preference. I have used it in the past, and sometimes it says it's clear, but it's not as clear as you'd like it to be. The stung is thicker than the other. Okay. What I really like to do is I like to just rub it on there and just let it polish up. And I think I'm going to put this back on here for a minute. let's do a little. Let's play with this just a little bit. This is also going to be kind of hard simply because of the way it's because of all the holes it has in it. Is also going to affect a little bit how we do this. Let me see. I get that on there pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. When you get a nice, good, tight lock on there, that really helps with the tenon. Okay, so I'm going to wipe this down. But let's just take a little peek and see what we can do even now while it's still kind of drying and still trying to soak in all the tung oil. Smells really good because that citrus oil that I mix in with it really sets it off. Let's see. And it does have a nice burnished finish right now to it. What if we use some Johnson or some tree wax? I'll try some tree wax on it for now. It's carnauba. And carnauba wax is been used on wood for centuries, I guess. It certainly was used by all of our moms and grandmothers and so forth back in the last century. When you had hardwood floors, they used carnauba wax. You used it on your cars. Your turtle wax or your other ones. I'm just going to put a little layer on here for now. We don't want to put a thick layer on. We just want to rub it in. Also don't want to accidentally snag anything when I'm doing this. So got to be really careful right there. That's that piece I was telling you about that was just the very edge. Okay, let me get inside here. Thing is, you buy a can of this stuff and you got it for life. You really don't need an extra one. Yeah, I'm playing with my shiny wood. With orange solvents. Yeah, it's more like what I'm kind of using in a sense. Those orange solvents actually are a cleaner and they are a thinner, but they're also an oil. And believe it or not, we actually have some place here in the valley that processes a lot of that. I was working with a company that would not only get the juice out of a lemon or an orange, they would take the oils out of the skin for other products. They would take some of it and grind it down and put it into lemon pepper for McCormick. They would the leftover stuff at the end of all the processes was turned into cattle feed. So there was nothing lost in the processing of those citrus. You got the oils, you got the juice, you got the essence, you got everything out of it. I think maybe I should try to do this going backwards. Maybe I can avoid having that problem there. Okay, let me see if I can turn it down just a little bit. I don't want it to go too awfully fast on me. I can pick up the speed later. Yeah, see, that's grabbing. So let me turn it and go the other way. Doesn't grab as much if I do it in reverse. So good lesson to learn there is, if you have any place that's going to catch, be very careful with it and then try turning it the other way, doing it the other way. Having a lathe with a reverse on it is, in my opinion, one of the real essentials. I mean, I understand if you're just getting a little lathe to start with, but once you start to wanting to really have a lathe, one of the things you have to have is an infinite control of speed, and you have to have reverse. The other thing I have, some lathes for some reason put the controls down here on your bottom right hand side, down here instead of up here. I like them right here where I can be seeing exactly what the speeds are. I can be looking at it and it's right here because my hands, if I'm turning something and if I have to stop, I don't want to have to drop the tool here, go down here with my right hand and turn something off. If I'm here, I can just take my hand off and just hit the stop button. So for me, having everything up here is just so much more safe and a much more effective way of doing things. Okay. Okay, that's soaked in a little bit. Now let's go up with a little bit more speed. See if we can. This is not going to be a high gloss, obviously. It's just going to be a somewhat of a little bit of that matted finish with just a little bit of a burnished look to it, I think. Yeah, I know. I can use paper towels too. I have paper towels right here. You're right. I could. I could use a lot of things. In fact, something I was showing, and Mike. I hope you're still on, Mike. I hope you're on because this is what I was going to show you the other day. Take a piece of dowel, split it right here. Put it just a piece of disc sandpaper or whatever kind of sandpaper you want. You can go in as deep as you want and not have to have your hand inside the bowl it's turning while you're sanding. It'll get in the corners. You can turn it like this to get up into things. It'll form to it. This is a very, very cheap and very, very safe way to sand things. I think everybody that turns ought to have at least one of these handy for turning inside a bowl or inside a vase or something like that where you need to get in there. So that's my tip of the day, so to speak, for that. Just get a dowel end piece and go from there. Okay, well, it's on there. It's hard, and like I said, it's not going to be glowing shining right now. It's just nicely finished, and I'm going to let this sit for a couple days and let the wood relax just a little bit. Then I'll go back for it and I'll try and buff it out with a buffer and see if I can get a little more. And I'll get the bottom finished off a little bit. We'll put a marker inside here. And that's the end of this bowl. What do you think? Okay. So, and I thank all you guys. Benjamin, thank you very much for being in here. Yeah, I know. By the way, these cloths, just so you know, I just wanted to let you know, these are surgical cloths. You can get them on Amazon. They are big. I mean, look at this. They are big. They're like 24 inches by 12 or something like that. These are surgical, and they are non-lint. They don't snag easy, and they are sanitized. They are sanitized, and you can get a bundle of these for like $10-15, like a big bundle of them. Use them for all sorts of things, like applying finishes. You can use them all over the shop. Much better than getting those cheap red things you see at Lowe's or Home Depot or Harbor Freight, those kind of things. These really work. They're absorbent. They last a long time. They can be washed. They're 100% cotton. This one says it's made in Bangladesh, if that means anything, but they're 100% cotton, and they are very lightweight, but perfect for applying finishes, for buffing things out, just for everything around the house, around the shop. Look them up on Amazon and get them. I think they're a steal, quite honestly. And I learned this originally from Mythbusters, Adam Savage. He uses them around his shop for a lot of things too, and I think it was a really good deal. So I did check the bottom here. I am pretty close on the bottom. I think I stopped it at just about the right time because I've got this here too. So I think I'm probably within a quarter inch or less, maybe 3/8 or something like that. I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry. maybe an eighth. But it's sturdy and strong. I didn't go too deep, and this is a nice feeling bowl. The angles match up with the inside and the outside until you get to the very very bottom here, and it's flat. So it's got all the best features of of a bowl, right? It's flat. It'll hold things. It's not going to hold liquids. You can see a tiny bit of light. I mean, not very much. There's just a tiny flicker of a little light through this. Um, you can see right, if I can do it, you can see it right here. There's a little light. There it is. Try and get it over here for you. So that's the light right in this crevice here. But other than that, I think we did a pretty good job of preserving this piece of wood, and it'll be around for another 50 to 100 years in somebody's house for serving nuts or putting bouquet displays in or whatever they want to do with it. It should be around for a long, long time. And that's the idea, is to take wood that otherwise will end up in the fireplace and turn it into something that people want to keep in their home. So I really appreciate y'all all being here. This was kind of just a quick throw together today, and I just wanted to kind of say hello to some people and get this on. We will have our normal live tomorrow, and I already showed you what I'm going to be turning tomorrow. So I hope you come back and see that. If you have any other comments, please put them in here. And again, it will get. I'm going to get all these lines are going to be coming out. Not to worry, Benjamin. Those lines are coming out when I get to the bottom of this bowl. The sides, those aren't lines. Those are actually in the wood. But it is all going to get another buffing and another little soft sanding with a high grit before I do the final. I just don't do that on the live because I want the wood to kind of relax and set, and anything that's going to pop up or loosen or whatever is going to show up, and then I'll go back over it again. So I got about 7 or 8 bowls over here that I'm in the process of redoing right now too. Not redoing, but just final finishing, I guess is what you'd call it. But it will get a tiny bit more sanding. I just don't want people to sit here and watch me sanding for 2 hours. But anyway, so yeah, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We really could use more subscribers here. We're trying to get to 4,000. And go over to Ryan's 77 Rockets. He's trying to hit 50,000 by the end of the year. And so we don't like to do that with him. So Ryan's going to be doing a lot of videos and a lot of lives. You can join his member. You can be a member there. You can join his group. Yeah, lemon pepper. Like it's a seasoning, by the way, Ryan. Yeah, lemon pepper. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will talk to you all again tomorrow, hopefully, right? But thank you all for coming in. See you later.